was in menopause, because my cycle was changing and because the hot sweats were starting, I went to go and get hormone relief. And so they gave me some hormones. And what I noticed 2 weeks later was this ringing in my ears that would wake me up at night. It was hard to hear the television, and my beloved's a little deaf, so the television wasn't on low. And it was this ringing in my ears that never stopped. And I would wake up in the night, and it was so loud. And I would burst into tears because I understood how a sound in someone's head might encourage them to hurt themselves because it just wasn't going anywhere. Now, I was a medical transcriptionist at the time. So when I looked up my history, my searching history, and this was back when you still did need to search stuff on Google. And so what I found was it had been since I had started that hormone that I had started Googling about ringing in the ear, tinnitus, more than had been if I was just Googling about it for a medical record. So then what I did was, so here's also what I want to say. If you give 1 million people the same substance, say a salt tablet, a sugar tablet, there are people who are going to respond to that positively, and there are people who are going to have side effects. They aren't really side effects. They're just other effects. Everyone is going to have a different reaction. So this isn't me saying this one hormone did it. This is me saying, here are things that I noticed. Soon after I started that hormone, the ringing started. When I look up tinnitus, I put the name of it in there, I found that a lot of people also said, yes, I too am experiencing this. And you could say, well, it's because you're a woman, because you're on all these other things, except most of these people were transitioning to female. So they hadn't had hormones on board before. That was kind of it was a singular addition to their biochemistry, right? Okay. So I stopped the hormone because it actually wasn't helping the hot flashes. And what I started to do was notice when it was happening and then listen as far away as I could. When I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would hear it, and the first thing that started running through my head was, oh, fuck, this again. I can see how people hurt themselves. Like this just litany of all of the ways that I am victimizing myself from something that I have zero control over, or that's what I thought, that I had zero control over it. What I came to notice was I can shift my focus. I can decide to listen far, as if I'm in a party and I'm listening for my beloved who's on the other side of the room, instead of this bitch yammering in my face right here. Beep, 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 beep. And it's a training. It's a skill set. It's something you learn to do. Listening far. And then I would do other things too. That is exactly what I do when we play perspective games. We shift where our focus is, on the noise that's happening in my head or something that we're listening for far, far away. And then you teach yourself the skill set of shifting from listening to this to listening to that. Other curious things that I noticed for me. When I consume higher fat, it doesn't matter what kind of fat, animal fat, plant fat, doesn't matter. saturated, unsaturated, trans, doesn't matter. It gets louder. When I am frustrated with things in general, and it specifically, it gets louder. And so what I have the chance to do is practice, because it's a practice, baby, like yoga. It's not a one and done. None of this that I share with you is the silver bullet. It's all just more ways to shift how it is you are holding your attention. Because what is holding your attention is what is pulling in all of your power and your attention. And you give it to them, right? When I was so miserable and irritated by this noise in my ear, I was handing it all of my power. It was inconvenient as fuck. And because I had been a transcriptionist, people were like, oh, well, it's because you have headphones on all the time. It was not. 25 years, and then in 2 weeks, suddenly I have this amazing thing because of my 25 years? Probably not. At any rate, here's the beautiful thing that came out of it. I learned a skill set of shifting my focus, shifting what I was listening to and telling myself over and over. And now sometimes I notice it. And sometimes I notice that I'm not noticing it. And that's beautiful. When I notice that I hadn't been noticing it, I don't tell myself, well, it's going to come back. It's never going away. You did that thing. And blah, 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 blah. We don't do that. I notice, oh, look at it. And then I'll nod to it when I hear it. But then I shift my focus. Friend, I'm using ringing in the ear for this. I will use, as an example, I will use waking up in the night in a panic as an example. Notice if you get trapped in the story of my victimization, because what I am offering you is the story of the other side. The ringing was an invitation to increase a skill set that I had no idea why I would even give a shit. Why do I even care about listening far away? For me, for my benefit, for my mental wellness. All right. I love you very much. When you're ready to work one-on-one with somebody, DM me and let's talk about that. Until then, come hang out with me